Hey guys, welcome to my garage. So since I bought the M5, it had some cosmetic issues that were bothering me, and given now it's parked away for the winter, I decided I'm gonna try and fix some of them up. Today we will be restoring the leather interior, specifically the driver's door panel and the driver's seat. If you are interested to see how it's done, stick around. I'll start with the door panel, and the first thing I remove is the upper door trim, which is held on with clips, and this bigger metal clip that you need to push to release it. I honestly struggled quite a lot with this door handle cover, because I couldn't find any video showing properly how to remove it. Now once you pry off the clip at the rear of the handle, you need to locate these push clips at the front upper part of the cover and push it up to release the handle cover. In this shot you can see what needs to move up to release the cover. From then on it's just a couple of T30 screws and usual door clips. I think easiest is to start from the bottom with some hard plastic prying tool and then just work your way around. Once I released the door handle cable, I realized there is no easy way to disconnect the wiring harness. You essentially need to disconnect multiple plugs. Here I suggest you take a picture to see where they are connected, as it can be misleading and I managed to plug back some of them incorrectly, so I had to come back to fix it. Given it's winter and I don't have any heating in my garage, I will be doing all the repairs inside. Let's continue by removing the switch panel, which is held on by 4 T20 screws and apparently some rather strong clips, because I had to pry quite a lot to get the panel out. Now the next step is to clean up everything with leather cleaner and a brush. For the first stage of cleaning I'm using mild color lock cleaner with their leather brush. For this whole repair I will be using Color Lock products. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, I paid for all the products I'm using. The only reason I chose these is because I've seen multiple YouTube videos with professionals using these products and having good results. I was also glad to find out I had a local supplier of these products, so I was able to get them easily. As a next step I tape up everything, I'm not going to paint. Once that's done, I'm using the strong leather cleaner on the whole area. As you can see, this is a much stronger product, it's already scrubbing off the color and the foam is becoming red. I use wet microfiber cloth to clean up the foam. Because I will be painting the leather, I need to ensure it is degreased and absolutely clean. So the next step is to use 99% IPA to remove anything that is loose and doesn't hold properly anymore. In the next step I'm using the fat absorber. This is not really necessary, but because this area have seen a lot of grimy hands, it's good to remove any possible oily contamination. This product needs to be applied and then let it dry. It should pull out and absorb any oils from the leather. Once it's dry, I just remove it with the brush and then clean it again with the leather cleaner. Now this area had a bit more wear, so we need to take care of it. I'm using a sanding block and just lightly remove the loose bits and smoothen the surface. If you don't overdo it, the leather is much smoother but still keeps the original texture. Before applying any products, the leather needs to be dry, so I'm using hair dryer to speed up this process. In the next step I used a product called Color Lock Blocker, and it creates something as a base surface and blocks any dirt from leather coming back to the surface through the dye. The product leaves a shiny surface, but you can see that we still maintain some texture. Now I'm taking my time to remove any blocker from the seams and holes, because I don't want them to look clogged. Okay, so this is now dry. I cleaned up the seams as best as I could, and now comes the fun part. We can start painting it. So I'm gonna be using this Leather Fresh from Color Lock.
This is a custom color blend for my interior color. So basically I took the headrest from my car seat to my local supplier and they were able to create this blend for me. So we can start painting it now. Let's see how it works out.
First I need to make sure I properly shake all of these products before using them. I will again use a foam block and just dab a thin coat of the leather fresh on the surface. I will be speeding up most of this because it took me a long time and it is rather repetitive. After every coat I use a hairdryer to speed up the drying. After 3 coats, we have almost full color coverage, even in the dark areas, and we still maintain a nice texture. I applied 3 more coats, focusing on the handle area, to make sure we have enough coats to survive some more years of wear.
So I let this dry overnight. This is basically ready the way it is. I could assemble it back into the car. This product is designed to be used that way. You just put it on. Once it dries, it can be used. However, I like to put on an additional top coat on this, which will create like an additional layer and create some more protection for wear or any chemicals, whatnot. So let's do that now.
The top coat has one more important feature, and it is that it will make the leather look more matte. You can see it here on this section, which I already covered with 1 coat of the matte top coat. The color lock top coat needs to be mixed by adding 3% of crosslinker IC2. This will ensure strong bond to the underlying paint and improve the protective qualities and robustness of the top coat. Bear in mind, guys, these are professional grade products and it is recommended by the manufacturer to use spray gun to apply the top coat, which I actually did in the past, but here I chose to use the foam block again. I don't necessarily recommend doing it this way, but I was pleasantly surprised with the surface quality I got using this method. After all, see for yourself. Now as a next step, I need to address this door handle, which has a lot of scratches and wear. And the easiest way is to simply replace it. To remove the switch panel, I just need to pry off the little clips and it comes off. After a bit of cleaning, reinstallation is just a matter of clipping it back and reinstalling the Torx 20 screws. As I mentioned, make a picture from the wiring, as it gets confusing really quick. Also, ensure you have the black washers on the door clips, otherwise your door may rattle. And now just clip back the door handle cover and the top door trim and we're done.
Okay, so this one is done. So far it's looking really good. Now let's look at the seat, which will be a bit more difficult, but I'm sure we can handle it.
I have not really filmed the seat removal, but essentially you just need to remove 4 Torx 50 screws, disconnect the main cable harness and it will come out. Or that's what I thought, until I realized how heavy these seats are. As a next step, I remove the seat belt holder, which is held by a Torx 50 screw, and the seat needs to be raised to have access to this bolt. Now you can see me trying to remove the seat alone, but I quickly realized it's not going to happen, so I had to call my dad to help me out. At the end, we pulled out the seats through the rear door, but before that I removed the back seats to have a bit more space and to make sure we don't scratch anything. Now if we look at the seat, it is not in a terrible condition, but there is apparently some wear, mainly on the upper and lower bolster at the door side, which usually gets most of the wear. There is some further wear and even some cracks in the leather on the thigh support, but surprisingly there are no cracks or any wear at the bottom section of the bolster, and usually this generation of BMWs have suffered with this a lot. Well, anyway, I want to show you how dirty this seat actually is and how much of a difference a simple cleaning can do. Bear in mind, I'm using the strong leather cleaner here, and depending on the condition of the leather, this can remove color as well. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. I think the difference is huge, but also notice that the worn parts are now worn even more. You can clearly see how clean automotive leather looks. It's nice and matte, not shiny. I know this can be boring to watch, but trust me, I'm working 30 times my normal speed here for you guys. It is actually very satisfying to see the difference on how clean the leather gets. In the rear of the seat is actually the main reason I'm doing this. There is a nasty tire mark because the previous owner has put tires onto the rear seats. I've actually fixed the rear seats last year, but back then I didn't film any videos, so here is just one picture of the process. The thing about tire marks is you can't clean them off from the leather, because the oils and chemicals from the tire actually soak themselves into the leather, and there is no real way how to clean them. Given I fixed my rear seats last year and they still look like new, I'm confident to say this process actually works, and I'll be using it here as well. Well, as a first step, you've seen me removing the back cover, then I continue with cleaning the leather multiple times with strong leather cleaner. As you can see, the tire mark is still there. Next step is the IPA, which removes the paint. The tire mark starts to fade, but even after all the paint is removed, the tire mark is still visible. The important next step here is the fat absorber. That should pull out as much oil as possible. The product turns a bit yellow, which means it is working. I repeat the application twice and always clean it off with IPA. After masking off the area, next step is the color lock blocker, which, as I mentioned, will create an impenetrable layer and will avoid any of the remaining oils from the leather to seep back to the surface. You could paint the seat without this, but in case of tire marks, there is a high probability that after a couple of months the tire marks will be a bit visible even through the new color. And now the painting process is just about the same as before. Just dab on the leather fresh with foam block in thin coats, dry every coat with hairdryer and keep on repeating. Now, I don't know if you can see where the repair was, but I can't. So I guess that's a great result. As a final step, I will again apply the matte top coat. Given this is not an area with heavy wear, 2 coats are sufficient. I think the color match here is perfect. Also, the texture is still decent. Bear in mind, this is a repair, so it's never going to be brand new, but this is really close and I'm happy with the results. And it is maybe becoming a bit boring at this point, but stay tuned. I'm just quickly going to paint the upper portion of the seat, and then we will need to address the cracks in the thigh support bolster. Now these cracks will need a bit of special attention as I can't simply paint over them. First I need to ensure I remove all of the loose paint with IPA. Then I can use sanding pad to remove all the high spots. There is an area which has a weird damage and shrinking. It seems to me it could have been caused by some heat damage in the past, but I'm not sure. Either way, I would have to sand this area flat in order to remove that damage, but I don't want to do that, because that will just get rid of all the texture, so I'll just blend it in as much as possible. Now I need to clean the cracks so that we can use a filler to fill them in. This is a bit tedious process, but my OCD kicks in and I need to get it done. This is the filler and it is supposed to be used the way it is. However, I decided I will add a bit of paint and mix it together to have red filler. Nevertheless, I don't know if this is approved by the manufacturer, so bear that in mind. Now I'm just going to fill the cracks and remove the excess. This needs to be repeated a couple of times as the filler is shrinking as it dries. After multiple layers, I'm removing the excess filler with sanding block and also with IPA, which actually dissolves it and makes the removal easier than sanding alone. And this is how it looks after filler has dried. Now I will again use the blocker because I like the fact that it acts also something like glue. It creates this upper shiny layer and holds all below layers consistent. I'm using the blocker also on this lower bolster to add a layer which will smooth out all the small wrinkles and again create a consistent layer for the paint. And now again the painting. I've applied 6 coats of paint on the wear surfaces and 3 coats to the non-wear surfaces. I think it looks quite good. Even the thigh support turned out good. You can't see the cracks even up close, but we still have somewhat reasonable texture. And this is the heat damage area. Again, I think it looks just fine. As a last step, it is again the top coat with the crosslinker IC2. I know it's really boring at this stage, but imagine I had to put on I think 4 coats. Again, just because this is a high wear area, I want to ensure the longevity of this repair. Here we can see how much difference the top coat makes. It is really nice and matte with this foam applicator. Now if you're going to do this with this foam pad application, it can happen that you will create these streaks where you accidentally move the foam instead of straight dabbing. Don't worry, just dab on another layer and the streaks won't be visible anymore, just like here. Now with that, the painting is complete. With the help of my dad, we can reinstall the seats, reconnect the cables, and voila, here's the final result.
I mean, I don't know what you guys think, let me know down in the comments, but to me this looks amazing. I'm really happy with the results and I can't really imagine how this could be done any better. Now if you managed to watch the whole video to this point, type down in the comments, you missed the spot, so I will know that you watched it. And with that said, thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.